Good day, everyone, and welcome to 12 at 12. Today we have Alisa Gaylon, full-time faculty in culinary and hotel restaurant management, and she's going to talk about identifying plagiarism problems and how to complete an incident report. So I'm going to pass it over to you, Alisa. Or Lisa. There you and you're on.
Okay, hi everybody. I hope everyone can see my screen. I've got some weird system setting thing that just popped up for no reason.
No, you're good. You're good to go.
Okay, wonderful. All right, so I wanted to talk to you guys today. We're going to focus on academic integrity. And the reason I was asked to do this presentation by Jen Cooper, our now provost, is that there are some faculty who are very, very good at upholding academic integrity standards by using the formal processes of filing reports and following up with student conduct, and then working with the students so that they understand what's right, what's wrong, how to improve. And then the problem is, though, that she sees some faculty use the system regularly, but a lot of faculty never use it at all. And so that kind of leads to this sense that there are some faculty that either don't know what to do or they're just not taking the time to actually do it. And it's a problem because upholding academic integrity is everybody's responsibility. Ethical behavior doesn't just apply to upper level management. We have to hold ourselves accountable as faculty, and we have to hold our students accountable as well. So I'm not going to read out loud to you. You've been looking at this slide as I've been speaking, but just thinking about academic integrity, it basically boils down to being honest and being truthful. All right, why is my screen not wanting, whoops. All right, so the basic issues that we deal with are a student either copying all or a portion of another student's work, or most common is we see copying and pasting directly from the internet without having proper quotation marks, in-text citations, and a reference in the work cited. What we also see a lot is this copying and pasting directly. The student puts a reference only in the work cited. They don't use quotation marks, they don't use in-text citations, and they assume that because they have a reference, it's okay to do that. And that's obviously not the case. So as faculty, why should we care? Because if we don't, we are undermining the value of what we do. We are undermining the value of the degree that we are offering, and we are undermining the value of what we have to educate our students. So looking the other way, not carefully paying attention, or allowing the students to go ahead and cut and paste as long as they have just a reference in the work cited, that's not upholding academic integrity standards. So the reasons often that faculty fail to report are because it takes some time. It really does. Tracking down the sources of the plagiarized paper, if you haven't used Turnitin, can take a little bit of time. For instance, if it's a document that was submitted in discussion, or maybe a student copied and pasted, they turned in late work and it was copied and pasted from something a student had turned in weeks before. And maybe if when you were going through the threads it had been fresh in your mind, you would be like, oh, Sally already posted that almost exact same paper. But when a student turns in late work towards the end of class and it's 3 weeks later, you might not catch it. So it does take a little bit of time, and it is sometimes tedious. Often we find that faculty members are concerned that if they do lodge these formal charges, that it's going to reflect negatively on their teaching skills, that the student's going to go after them in the idea survey or badmouth them to other students. And then also there's the issue of not wanting to damage a student's reputation or career, and just wanting to deal with it internally. And I don't think it's wrong to deal with things internally as well. Sometimes you might want to give a student the benefit of the doubt and point out to them, like, you submitted this to the Dropbox, that Turnitin Score is a little concerning. Why don't you, perhaps review it? Maybe you uploaded the draft version. That's one thing. But then once you have, actually formally graded a paper and you see that it's clearly plagiarized, to, worry about the student's reputation, that's not the important thing. The important thing is helping them learn how to do it ethically going forward so they don't continue to make these mistakes. So when we look the other way, like I said before, we're undermining ourselves. We're undermining the students. the value of the education that they are paying for. We are preventing them from learning the right habits to move forward into their upper level classes. Or, what if our students go to graduate school and they assume that that cut and paste is still acceptable? And then the other thing is that depending on what field your students might be going into, if they think that it's okay to plagiarize in the classroom, they're going to think that it's okay to plagiarize professionally as well. And that's an issue when you start stealing or passing off the work of a colleague as your own without giving proper credit. All right, so I know that Jeremy Hockett has done some excellent 12 at 12s on how to use Turnitin, so I'm not going to go through any of that, but I do just want to stress that don't rely just on the score. Turnitin's not perfect. Sometimes it might miss that the student did have things properly quoted or with an in-text citation. So, don't necessarily just look at the score. You can also copy a portion or a paragraph and run it through a Google or a Bing search and see if it hits. You can always tell if the work all of a sudden sounds completely unlike the work that's been previously submitted by that student in prior assignments. All of a sudden the grammar is remarkably better, the vocabulary is much more advanced. That's a clear sign. You can also ask student if it's in a threaded discussion, where did you learn about this? And what's the basis for this information or for your statement that blah, 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 blah. In other words, ask them to back it up. And they may then further explain in discussion. And that's a great teaching opportunity to say, hey, you know what, then this is where in your paper you should have had some quotation marks or an in-text citation so that we would all know, where that statement came from and why you're using it to support your opinion. So our role is to prevent plagiarism in the first place through our instruction, and then secondarily to enforce our school's policies by following up with the incident reporting process. All right, so that report, how to file a report, save the student's work to your desktop. If there's also a Turnitin report, download it, save that to your desktop. You have to go into My Students. You do want to look up the student's ID and make sure you look up their program of study if your department has more than one major. And then this is where you want to go to the faculty portal. You go to Policies and Procedures, Student Affairs, and then you click on the incident report form on the right side. So because we saved these to the Faculty Learning Center, did record a little video, but instead I'm actually going to go live. So this is in the portal, Policies and Procedures tab, Student Affairs, right over here. It's the incident report form. Now, key thing about this form, any field that has an asterisk has to be filled in. At the bottom here, there is a submit button. It does not become available to you to click until you have filled out every single form. So I'm just going to randomly type some stuff in here. Obviously, I'm not going to submit this actual form, but just to show you that everything does need to be filled out or else it will not go through. So let's see, 1205, 2018. You would indicate others involved if it was a matter of a student copying from another student. You would put the student that was copied from in this others involved line. Just making up a course, put your section number. I like to put the start date. You can also put the track if you've got it there. Couple different ways to upload supporting documents, and the key things to keep in mind. Number one is that only a PDF is accepted, and number two, you can only upload one file through this system. You can't save documents to a compressed zip folder and upload a zip folder. So if you have large files or more than one file, you're going to want to email them separately. And what I do is I would make a note down here that the files are too large, they will be emailed separately. And then when you send that email, make sure that you reference the student's name and their ID number so that everything gets matched up. When you click upload a file, you'll have to navigate to the file on your desktop and then click upload. It does take a couple seconds, so give it a second to go, and then you'll see that it's done. And then you can include any other details, check the box, and it will allow you to submit if all of the fields have been properly filled out. Please note that you do not get a confirmation email, but you will get a pop-up here that says thank you. and you will get a follow-up email from Jen Cooper or somebody in the student conduct department within 24 hours, 48 hours if it's the weekend. Make sure that you don't send the incident report or the incident letter to the student until you've received confirmation from that department. Additionally, in your classrooms, make sure your expectations are clear. Give examples of properly researched and cited papers from prior sections. Get permission from graduated students. You can blank out their names. Provide templates for papers in your class. Provide examples of how to cite. And make sure you're very clear on your instructions in the first place to set the right tone. When you get a response, you've got a few courses of action, and I want to advocate strongly for the redo for partial credit option. You give the student a cutoff date, and I usually go about 50% credit. But the benefit of allowing them to redo for partial credit is that they get the teachable part of the teachable moment, and they learn the right way to summarize what they've read from their research, to properly cite it. It allows them to still have that assignment as a component for their class project or for their portfolio class later in their course of study, right? But it also does have that slight punitive effect in that they can't earn the full points, and they did get written up for it, so they know going forward that they've got to make sure that they literally cross every one of their own T's and dot every one of their own I's. Here's my works cited because I don't like to plagiarize. If you've got follow-up questions, you can feel free to email me directly. And then I just want to make sure that everybody remembers to go in and does the punch card. The information is also here in the chat section. There's a link there that you can click. Thank you all for joining me.
Thank you, Alisa. Appreciate it. Excellent training.
Welcome.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.